storytelling as well. And that's the main thing I want to pick up on, was Round by Through is a very simple, but it can be quite complex depending on what things you add to it, what elements you add to it. But it's basically a storytelling, it's a way of storytelling using physical movement. Okay, so taking away text, using physical movement, sometimes adding music. But yeah, it's basically 3 simple instructions. When we start devising any kind of work or blocking anything, it's just one way of devising that we could go down to create some work, yeah? As I say, it's very physical, so it's all within the body, okay? Yes, most of you were in pairs. There was a 3 at one point, and that again adds another layer onto it, doesn't it? As Sandra said, the more people, the more things you've got to consider, the more offers you're going to get from different people, so you could say it's easier in that sense, but also more difficult because you've got to try and include everyone and think about where everyone's going to sort of be and how they're sort of linked to the piece. Now, Sandra touched on one thing there about speed, okay? So that is like an element which we didn't manage to get around to looking at, but changing tempo in movement can be really, really important for Round by Through. Because if we were going to try and say, if anyone sort of remembers, thinks about the physical movement that the pieces that we sort of started working with on Thursday, if we were going to try and make that into a story of some kind, even those small little tiny pieces, tempo is going to help with that, because if it's something like a romantic sort of story that we sort of talk about, like a couple that they hadn't seen each other in 5 years and they're long lost and they found each other again, star-crossed lovers, slowing tempo down could be something that's quite sentimental and sensitive. When if these characters were just, I don't know, okay, it could be at a party, could be anything like that. The tempo, if you add tempo, pick tempo up, it's going to add a different sort of emotion to it, different sort of theme. Or equally, if you add emotions like anger, anger's probably naturally going to speed the tempo up, isn't it? If you think about that. When I don't know, sadness, I guess, would probably slow the movement down. We're going to start to touch on that a little